Hey, good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast here with me. Today is October 14th, and I'm excited to talk about the VA FY2023 budget. That's what we're going to tackle today, an overview for government contractors. If you haven't been to one of these type of trainings before with me, what I like to teach from a budget perspective is how do I look at all the budget material coming out of the Department of Veterans Affairs from a salesperson's perspective. So business developer, a capture person, even a proposal writer, how can I look at the budget and gain insight that I might not have had before, gain ideas for what I might be trying to learn further within the VA, and then create a list of action items. I'm a huge fan of creating action items that can help me with business development and capture and identifying opportunities, right? That's a huge part of business development, is to build relationships, understand an agency, and then identify opportunities that I might be able to pursue. And so that's what we're going to tackle today. I'm excited about it. There's over 2,000 pages in just the documents I'm sharing. We're not going over all of them, but I am going to show you how I go through it when I'm helping my customers dig into these documents, or even how I did it when I had my own companies. And so that's what we're going to tackle today. If you don't know who I am, I'm Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to my daily LinkedIn Live sales training for the federal market. It's where I provide process and procedures, tips for success in the federal market. Since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. And when you follow a process A to Z, you're going to achieve predictable results. And that's what I want you to achieve. And today's activity is going along those lines of process. I've done this myself, right? I'm helping customers now, but for 20 years, I was a small business owner in the federal market. I know what I'm talking about, and I know my suggestions. My way is not the right way. My way is one way that works, and I hope it delivers nuggets for you. That's my goal with these trainings each day. Also, keep in mind, you've got a community. So in the community of the chat here, put your company name and your core competency. Let people know who you are. Don't hide from buyers. Help me and them and people in the community remember who you are, so that if we get somebody asks us, hey, do you know anybody doing cyber, anybody doing construction, et cetera, I have a name and a company that I can reach out to because I've seen you in here over and over and over again. Yeah, Senate budget hearings. I didn't go that far, Jeff. So I glance at chat, but once I start sharing, I'm not sharing at all. So the other thing is put your company name and core competency in, but also engage in the chat. These people in the chat are here, peers of yours, colleagues of yours in the government contracting space. And so take the time to get to know them, and maybe you find teammates that you can chat with outside of this, this venue, this event type thing. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. If you haven't been here before, I'm going to go through at a fire hose pace. I've got a lot of information that I've prepared. I'm probably only going to be able to get through 25% of it, maybe 50% of it, but it's all good stuff. And again, it's designed to give you ideas of how you can go into the VA further to dig in. And with 2,000 pages, you're going to find stuff for anything that you sell. You're going to find something related to what they do. If you have questions as we go along, throw them into the chat. I'll try to get to them after the event, but I'm not going to look too much at the chat. But Gus is in there. He can answer some questions, and then other people can answer the questions as well. Okay, let's go to town. Okay, I'm going to go over a whole bunch of documents here, and some of them I'll go page by page. Others I'm going to not really go through, but I want to show you the documents I'm looking at. So this one here is the Department of Veterans Affairs President's Budget Request. It's a briefing deck. It's the highest level summary. And then here's kind of an official budget and brief, if you will, summary of what the VA put out as their budget. All this for all agencies, all of this is back in the beginning of 2022, but it's the budget that's being discussed and passed for 2023. So then there's 4 volumes that relate to the budget, and you can see them. This is where you start getting to the 2,000 pages, right? So here's 130 pages on a supplemental information that's outside of what you're about to see in the next 3 volumes, which is medical programs and IT, coming into the National Cemetery Administration and overall VA departmental administration. And then here, construction, long-range capital planning. So there's a lot of different documents. I'm going to touch on them, but I'm going to begin with this one. And again, I'm coming through. If you're getting here a little bit late, I'm coming down these, not trying to just regurgitate the numbers that are on here, but I'm trying to show you how do I look at budget material in a way that can give me action items afterwards for business development capture. All right, so just coming down, I've got a bunch of highlights. I'll pause, tell you why I highlighted it, and then moved on. So the first thing is, just understanding the difference between total budget and discretionary request. That number is a little bit high, 139. You'll see it's 135. And discretionary request to me just means it's contracting possible dollars. But it's good to know, got a general idea. The VA, by the way, it's the number one highest budget spending for civilian agencies, and it's the third for all agencies when you separate out Army, Air Force, and Navy as separate entities. So when I come down this next page, I'm looking at discretionary funds and some of the big stuff that I want to be tracking on, right? There's things that pop out. So electronic healthcare records, even though they went down, I can still see they're spending here, $1.7 billion on the healthcare rollout. You'll see me talk about it further. IT technology systems, that's my world. And that budget went up by 19%, right? So now it's 5.7 in here. This is good information for me. If you're in the construction space, right, it might be valuable to you to know the difference of the major and minor construction and the spend that's on there. And you'll see as I go farther down how that's broken down. Okay, so I'm going to skip this page. I'm going to move in. This one, the reason I like this is this page caught my eye, and it's really important for me to understand, well, what is in and what's not included in the 2023 budget. And so I would recommend you stop and you read this and you begin, especially you read the parts that fit to what you sell, right? But some of the things I just thought was interesting, their big focus on caregivers and this recognition that healthcare given by caregivers is vital and how can they support it. And so here they're talking about an increase of $433 billion, 30% increase. Whatever's going on there is a big deal. And so if you're in that space, this is a really handy thing for you to see. I'm going to skip through some of these pages, come down here to additional medical care highlights. And in here, I'll just start seeing what are some of the top priority projects that they're focused on. So suicide prevention is a big one. It's been a big one for years. Women veterans health. And this one's interesting as I read it. They're talking about two things that I thought was interesting is one, how the number of women veterans has tripled that are using VA services. And so that's a huge deal. And that's really important if my company, your company, is supporting in any way healthcare services, especially that are targeted towards the unique needs of women. Well, I'm looking in here and I can see that this is a priority, and I can see that they're increasing significantly what's going on with women, 800 billion, right? Or million, excuse me. As I come down, other highlights, homelessness. We already talked about caregivers and that increase that's in there. These things are important for me to note as I come down. Switching out of healthcare, right? Going to the VBA. So you have VHA healthcare, Veterans Healthcare Administration, and then benefits. And so here I'm looking at, they've got a $4 billion budget, but the benefits have popped up by 13%. The VA had a massive increase in budget just overall across all agencies. And it's a good thing if you're serving the VA, right? But some of the things I track on is 795 full-time equivalent or employees to process claims that they have associated with exposure, environmental exposure. What that means to me is it's going to take time for them to ramp up to that stage. If I'm in that healthcare staffing world or, process claims staffing world, might I get in with the VBA and whoever is responsible for this and see if there's contracts to maybe cover down on these responsibilities while the VA is in the process of hiring new people. And then the other thing, switching it from people to technology, they've got the compensation and pension claims modernization to automate a lot of the activity that's going on. So if you're in the IT space, you can fit right in here. These are the type of things I look for as I'm coming down that will then make me understand that I must research more in the VBA and learn more about compensation and pension claims modernization. Is there a strategic document on that I can go research? What office can I go in and talk to? Okay, cruising straight down. Here's just some other things that pop out to me, right? Continue to modernization efforts collaborating with IT to enhance case flow technology. And so this goes into the whole lawyers, I think, traction. Yeah, a lot of lawyers 256 new lawyers coming in, or FTEs that support that, 151 decision writing attorneys. This is really fascinating, but I know there's people in our community who are in the legal space, and this might be an area you can pursue. And so there's continuing partnering with veteran service organizations. Who are these people? What's going on? I want to learn more about that modernization effort and see if there might be a space for me to fit in. So as I continue to come down, now I'm in the National Cemetery Administration. There's 3 administrations in the VA. So this is the 3rd one, and I can see the budget's gone up as well on here. But here they're trying to support the implementation of NCA's long-range goals. And these 4 bullets are those goals. Well, I want to understand what those goals are, and do my services and products align with any of their goals, right? So here they're talking about, I'm in IT services as an example, modernizing memorialization, which is a really interesting way of trying to reach out. And especially during COVID, we saw this ability to go beyond in person, right? And so I might pursue this. I might go in and learn more about it. Is there a play for me as a contractor to the VA? Coming down, now I'm into OIT. So for the most part, most of the IT services get done at the national level for the VA, and they get spread across the board. And in here, I just start looking at some of these IT projects that are highlighting, and I'm going to go into a lot more IT in a second, so I'm going to save myself time. But here, $477 million for infrastructure readiness program. What is the information readiness program? How do I go learn more? What's the program office managing this, and who are the people leading it? How can I get in and talk with them? And the same thing here with cybersecurity's got $450 million, but also they loop in cybersecurity, privacy, and records management. Well, I know there's a lot of companies on here who do knowledge management, records management, perhaps getting in there and understanding who in OIT we can talk to learn more. This one is, I don't want to take a lot of time because, again, we only got 30 minutes. But in here, this is awesome for me because OINT's budget request, things I should know, and they're bouncing back and forth between basically VHA, VBA, NCA, et cetera, and enterprises like headquarters. But I'm able to look in at all these different major projects, and whichever ones seem like they might align with what I do, I would pursue further. So down here, information security that I talked about earlier, I can learn a little bit more, and I can see some of the things that they're tracking on. Over here on the right, there's a financial and acquisition management modernization. Well, if I've got a level of DevSecOps or financial knowledge to a development project, maybe I should be knocking on the door. Maybe I should try to find out who's doing the transition to IFAMs, right? Can I get on their team? Can I get a piece of the work at the VA? Electronic health records is huge, right? We're trying to go from paper-based to electronics in the VA. And this is really handy for me. The big part I just want to point out is down here, there's so much I want to go pursue, and I want a piece of this. How can I get a little piece? But I'm able to understand that they're looking at funding readiness, getting these agencies, or excuse me, these VISNs ready to start going down this path of electronic health records management. But then they've also got other ones that are doing infrastructure investments. And the idea is theoretically they're farther ahead. There's 21 or so VISNs. I mean, I know there's number 23 there, but there's 21 or so VISNs, and they're rolling it out. Well, where can I fit in? Which part might I help with? Readiness? Can I be downstream ahead of the change that's coming? By reading this, I'm able to understand that and to be able to have the questions I need to ask. Coming down here into construction, right? Capital programs and investment. Here's major programs provide money for 7 medical facilities and 3 cemetery projects. Well, if I'm focused on medical facilities, I do painting and flooring, elevators, things like that, right? Maybe it's a fit for me to go in and go, well, what are those 7 medical facilities? VA hospitals, basically. What are they? And how do I get in and be part of the team that's going after this work, right? And then minor construction talks about 81 new projects that plan on starting. What are they? How do I create a list of them and just do a bid, no bid with the minimal amount of information? By doing that, I might get rid of half of them. And then the other half I can dig into further by reaching out to the people who were in charge of those projects. Okay, I got a couple of more down here. I just want to show this one here. What is our budget by? The reason I like this, and I'm just stopping, is like the customer wants you to understand their mission and what they're doing, right? They're supporting 9 million veterans in healthcare. They've got disability compensation benefits for 6 million, SDVOs, think of those, right? So there's all this activity that's going on. Understanding that means you've taken the time to care about them enough to research and understand their mission. These ones. So this is the last two I think I wanted to do on this deck. In here, I highlighted electronic healthcare cost and deployment schedule. For me as an IT person who says, or professional services who says, I want to be part of this, $10 billion project that's out there, I can begin to see, remember what I was talking about, some of them are getting funding. So it looks like, they're spreading it across, and I can see the type of work that's happening and when it's getting done. I can see the schedule. I can begin to try to get ahead of it. Maybe I want to get into 23 and 24, but I can also look back, looking at this schedule and go, what's the lessons that came out of Vision 20 and Vision 10 that I might be able to run all the way ahead to like Vision 6, which I support, and go, oh, hey, that's good. So anyways, you can see this activity, you can see the spend that happens. And it's a similar thing on this other major program called Infrastructure Readiness Cost Deployment Schedule and Cost and Deployment, right? Or Infrastructure Readiness was the project. But I can see that exact same information. The reason this is valuable is I'm looking out years, right? And I can begin to create action items. One of my action items might be to reach out into Vision 21, Vision 22 and say, hey, where are you guys at? How do you feel about the electronic health records rolling out, et cetera? Or I might sit there and say, I just want to work on the ones that are starting, like Vision 17 is going to be starting in 2023. Okay, a lot of stuff there, and a lot of things you can find in there. If you understand what I'm saying about how you can look at these documents and determine action items, just write action items in the chat. Let me know you're tracking on what I'm saying. To me, looking at a budget is not about being able to regurgitate, the VA has $135 billion budget for contract dollars or something. It's not about just regurgitating facts. It's about looking at the budget and going, how can that budget help me create a strategy for my business development and capture efforts? Okay, so let me move into this next document here. And this one's 51 pages, right? And it's a similar information, so I'm not going to go too far on it. But I did want to show you, as I'm coming through, now they start explaining themselves a little bit more. And they start rolling out the budget, the requests that are down here. And I would just encourage you to read this. This is another way of understanding when you see a slide that's got a couple of bullets, here's the full explanation. And so beginning to understand it, where they talk about automating the claims processing. And then here's a whole page about it. And the same thing as they continue down, right? Continuing the fight for COVID, bolstering the end of veterans homelessness. If one of these kind of projects is one like the supporting caregivers that you thought you could do, well, you want to come into this document and read this, understand it. It will begin to give you tips for who's in the who the program office is, et cetera. So right here, it's talking about the program office is preparing for phase 2 at the bottom. Okay, so I only got a few minutes left, and I wanted to save it to go over these 4 documents and show you what's in here, because there's almost 2,000 pages in these 4 documents, but that's okay, right? You don't have to read every word. It's like the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation. No one expects you to read the whole thing. We expect you to be able to go in there when you need it and understand it. Well, for these budget material, you want to be able to look in and make a decision based on what you're seeing. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. First thing I love doing is going to the table of contents. In the table of contents, I begin to look for things that pop out to me. And I didn't want to highlight too much, right? If you actually saw what I look at, I pretty much go page to page because I'm looking for the nuggets. I'm looking for the things that will help me have a conversation with the government. Let me pause for 1 second and teach you about authority shifting. Sometimes when we go into a meeting, right, with another person at the VA or large prime or whatever, we go in and sometimes we feel maybe a little less than, right? In whatever way you want to say that. They're more knowledgeable about the agency. They're more experienced with contracts, whatever it is. We're feeling maybe a little bit less than. We're deferential a little bit. But then when we do preparation, we do a call plan, we do a little bit of research, we begin to come up and we feel like, hey, we're equal players here. We're peers coming in to talk about it. But you can read documents like these, the strategic documents, and then the authority begins to shift in your favor where you are so much more knowledgeable than the person you're meeting with. It doesn't make you any better than them, right? just like they're no better than you. They were just more prepared and knowledgeable. But you can become more prepared and knowledgeable because most people don't read these documents. And so it's a reason you hear me talk about I go through a lot of them. And I get pretty darn excited about them because the federal government is very transparent. No matter what anybody says, they are very transparent. And that makes it easier for me to do my job in business development and capture. So when I come through the table of contents, you notice that the part that I highlighted here was, let me just see if make it a little easier for you. I'm highlighting high-risk areas identified by the GAO and major management challenges identified by the Office of Inspector General, OIG. And that's important to me because I want to go see what are the auditors saying that the VA is doing wrong, basically, and what challenges is the VA facing, and what do they say about these challenges, and what are they trying to do to fix it? Because I want to know how I can fit into those. And if I can reference those in any way in my RFI and RFP responses, then I'm able to confirm to them that I care, right? That I'm taking the time to understand it. And then, down here, you see this expenditure by state. If I look at $135 billion in spending, I can look into that expenditure by state and see that Texas has got 20 billion of it, right? Florida's got a bunch, North Carolina, California, right? And I can begin to see which states have more of the funds. It doesn't necessarily drive my activity, but I begin to ask why. Or if I'm in this state and there's one next to me that has 10 times the spending, maybe I shift my energy over there because they've got more veterans they're taking care of. And so their budget's higher and maybe their ability to fit me in is going to be higher. Okay, so let me change this back to one page because I think I got one more. Did I miss it? Yeah. Well, so anyways, coming down, you're going to see all sorts of explanations here. But I did want to come back. These ones here, by the way, if I go down to it, it just has another document it's referencing. And I've got that document. I think I had it open right here. Right here. So this document here, in it, you can begin to find those challenges. So you have to go to a separate document sometimes. Okay, let me come back to that guy. This is the next one I wanted to go to because there was all sorts of stuff about IT. And I might wrap up with this because it's got enough of what I want to show you on all of the other documents. So again, I come into this document and I'm looking at the table of contents. One of the first things that really captures my attention is the VA priorities. I want to understand what your priorities are holistically so that I can track on those, right? So if I, down here at the bottom, you see it has VA priorities. And if I just go to the next page and I fit there, right? I begin to look to the priorities they have, providing seamless and coordinated access to integrated veteran care. What does that mean? How do I communicate to it? How does my solutions and my products align to these priorities, right? Down here, delivering timely access to high quality mental health care and preventing suicide among veterans. I might not be able to do anything related directly to suicide with veterans, but could I do stuff that enables the people who can help the veterans do their job better or reach veterans better or serve veterans better, right? There's a way for me to be able to help in that mission, but understanding the priority takes me from being this company is just saying, hey, I do this service and you should buy it because you need IT services or something, to, hey, my services really address this need to deliver timely access to high quality care. Let me come back really quick. It's funny. 30 minutes is always a fun thing. Okay, down here, key drivers of projected expenditures. It's another one that caught my eye. I'm going to drop down there and see what that looks like. Not with you, but it's things like that capture my eye. And you can be looking at the same thing. So let me go to the IT. Oh, this one here. So I don't know if you see it, but I just want to tell you, it says veteran patient workload. That was really important to me to understand how the providers, the nurses, doctors, in a hospital, what are they dealing with? How many unique patients are out there, right? What's going on? What are the type of patients they're dealing with? If I'm supporting geriatric care, right? How many are over a certain age that maybe my specialties can help with? Understanding that, right? Down here, somewhere in here was telehealth, but I'm just going to skip. There you go. Supply chain management. This is huge, right? I know from previous work that I've done with the VA that they've had challenges getting surgical equipment into the OR because of how the supply chain is operating, whether it's supplies being found and being able to be brought in, or because of the logistics of just dropping it off, shipping it to a loading dock, and then getting it through the hospital to the actual hospital into the OR, right? Those are important things. And telehealth is huge, right? It's what we're doing right now is teletraining, telehealth. Imagine this ability to talk to a doctor who's not there. You're at home. Imagine how comfortable that makes the veterans. When you're able to contribute to that, that's huge. And when you're able to understand what the VA is trying to do for their veterans, their patients, you will be able to tell a much better story that aligns with their goals. Okay, coming down here, there's engineering services, transportation services. I didn't want to, there's so much I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to get down to IT. Oh, okay, so IT. This was the part that was, the reason I wanted to show you is because now I can find out even more projects, right? Here's electronic healthcare record, but down here, these are the different portfolios. And I know I'm going really fast, but I'm watching my time and I want to make sure I do this right. But here, right, 2023 health portfolios, benefit portfolios, memorial affair portfolios, and then at the enterprise level, right? And so if I come in here and begin to look at some of these, let's click on this one. It will tell me some general discussion on it. And then if I go down to the next page, I begin to be able to look in here at much more details, right? I'm able to see different things related to cybersecurity and what they're doing, the budgets they're spending, what they plan on doing with hardware and maintenance, their IT support contracts, enterprise support desks, IT service management. I'm in the data side, right? I know one of the people are in here is data. I can see what are they spending on data? Where are they going? They're dropping the amount they're spending, but why? Are they spending it somewhere else? I'm showing you just one page in this document that relates to the spending they do in the projects. Through that budget, I was able to go down there and learn about these different projects. If I went into that healthcare portfolio, I could see the major IT projects related to healthcare and supporting the hospitals. That allows me to start doing business development. Is there an opportunity for me, et cetera? And that's what I mean by driving forward and trying to create action items out of these documents. So if you understand this value of budgets and how you can look at it as a salesperson to better understand the agencies, in this case, VA's mission and what they're trying to do for veterans, the challenges they face, the goals and priorities they have. If you understand that, put budget rocks in the chat. Let me know that you see the power of the budget to your efforts in sales, whether it's business development, capture, or proposal writing. So we covered a lot. By the way, if you missed me yesterday, my family's fine. I had to bail for a personal emergency, but I was going to do an Air Force one. I'm going to do that over the weekend, so you don't have to attend it. I'll make it available on a replay, but I will do it on a LinkedIn Live because it's easy to record. But these budgets, what I covered with other agencies and what I just covered with VA today, they're designed the way I teach it. It's designed to help you just understand your customer better so that you can start having more success. And I hope that you do have more success in there. If you like what we're doing, if you appreciate the training you got today and you found value in it, please put thank you in the chat. We always appreciate that. And remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is registering for next week's training. They're already on LinkedIn, and so you can register for those. Part of the process is having a great weekend, and I hope you have a great one. I'll talk to you in the next training.